Hello and welcome. This is episode 40 of Three Losers in a Church. This episode, we're going to be doing our final installment of worship music. So, Chris chose Alive by Hillsong Young and Free, and he's going to give us his thoughts on that.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, Hillsong Young and Free is a group that I actually don't know that much about. Obviously, they're like an offshoot of Hillsong, but from what I can tell, Young and Free is supposed to be their like attempt at like reaching a younger demographic, hence the name. A younger and freer demographic. And I can't say one way or the other how successful that is, but I first heard this song at a summer camp where I was one of the leaders, and the band there, Monty, actually did this song. That was the first time I ever heard this song.
Shameless plug for Monty.
Yeah, Monty band, Josh Monty.
They're the best.
And that was back when like ironic dabbing was still a thing. And I just remember they were doing this song, and he just yelled, "I was supposed to dab," in between one of the segments of the song. Like I still don't know why. So, but yeah. So like it's kind of like an EDM song, but kind of like how Hillsong is like rock light. This is kind of like EDM light. You know? But I don't know what happened to me in the last few years. Like all I've listened to is like EDM. I didn't grow up listening to electronic music or anything, but for some reason it's just like part of me now, and I don't think I can go back. But
No turning back. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
That was good. But
Music puns.
music points. I would have picked a hymn if I didn't pick this song. So, but yeah, I guess I just like it's like a different energy that I don't hear in a lot of worship songs, because most churches aren't doing like electronic sets, as far as I know. And I kind of I guess I'm kind of like a traditional Baptist in my worship style, and like I don't clap and like dance and get excited and stuff, and like I don't know, I just kind of like to sit there and be like reflective. But this kind of like draws out a different energy for me. I remember I was like jumping and like yelling and singing when this was happening, and of course I'm like wicked old compared to everyone else there because it was a youth camp. But like this is the kind of music that like draws that out of me, I think. So it was like a different way of worship for me that I'm not totally accustomed to doing. So it has like a lot of good memories for me. I think that's part of the reason that I really like it. Yeah, good vibes only.
Have you gone to a Young and Free concert?
No, I have not. No, I've been to one EDM concert. And that's what's interesting to me is most of the people at that concert were like mid-20s to mid-30s. And like I don't know if it was like an over 21 show or something, but like there was not a lot of like young and free people there.
These people were old and dried up.
And one guy was in a panda suit.
So he was literally not free.
Right. But yeah. And like this it's interesting because like the words in this song are not exactly the most eloquent thing you've ever heard. I mean, they're not bad, but I feel like a lot of electronic music kind of lends itself to simpler lyrics anyway, because there's more focus on like the beat and the whatever else is going on. There's no like sick beat drop in this one, but I guess you could kind of call it a drop, but it's not like a bass drop. It'd be kind of cool if it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole song is just like typical, like, I was lost with a broken heart. You picked me up. Now I'm set apart. Like I'm sad, but now things are good. Like pretty much every verse is like that. You know, in the midst of the darkest night, let your love be the shining light. That kind of thing. And I don't know. It's just like celebratory. Like you are alive in us. Nothing can take your place. So let's just like dance and get this like 4 on the floor beat going. Yeah. But I know that it's like not a traditional worship song. And I know Sam has some opinions about Hillsong Young and Free. So
I just think they're hilarious. That's it.
I'm like imagining this in my head as like an acoustic breakdown, which I'm sure someone's done a phenomenal job doing. But like also at the same time, I'm like, oh, the ill attempts that so many people would try to do this with would just be so much.
Right. I heard it on a piano the other day. And I was like, what song is that? and it was this. I was like, oh, I'm not used to hearing it without the like synths and like
Yeah.
clapping and whatnot. Also, it's in D minor,
Is it
and I think more music needs to be in minor.
interesting? Oh, it is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there's that too.
Huh. Yeah, there's very few contemporary worship songs. This is a very big tangent that are written in minor keys.
Yeah.
Awesome God. F
Awesome
sharp
God.
minor.
Yeah. Tremble. Which, you know.
Yes.
Is it written in A minor? Oh, it is. Interesting.
Yeah.
for Tremble?
Yeah. And I don't know. To me, like, maybe, I don't know. Like, minor songs and music, like, draws out, it, like, evokes this different emotion for, I don't know. Like Bach. Like, a lot of Bach is in minor. And I just love, like, that feels very expressive to me. Like, you can do more with it.
Interesting.
But I don't know if that's true.
It's definitely a very untapped market.
Yeah.
But isn't there like a psychology behind music about that? I don't know. Was it you who's watching a video about that? I saw somewhere where they were talking about like the way you listen, like the way music draws out certain emotions is due to the arrangement and like I don't know. It was just very fascinating, like the psychological ability of music.
It might have
It
been
might
me.
have been you. I think it was you.
I was watching an Adam Neely video.
It was
while
either
having a
you
mental
or
breakdown.
Tyler talking about music and like how it affects you or like
Mhm.
draws that out of you.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a theory that like different keys evoke different emotions and feelings. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
true, but
I mean, if I believe it.
I call pumpernickel.
and like I don't know. I've definitely been called like a music snob by multiple people.
Myself included.
Probably you. But like which like I guess there's probably truth to that. But also like I feel like music snobs don't listen to like EDM and Hillsong Young and Free. So, so like
Is this your defense for being a music
well,
snob?
not necessarily defense.
Like a
it's
more
just, like,
versatile music snob,
right?
Like,
It's just like I
you're
don't
just-
know.
you're just stretching yourself.
Maybe I'm misunderstood in my snobbery, which makes me more of a snob.
Oh my god.
That just makes me sound like a pretentious snob. Yeah, I don't know. But like, cause yeah, this song it's like pretty simple as far as electronic music goes, and lyrically it's pretty simple. But like, I think it just comes together really well for me personally. And like, I think having that like nostalgia and that personal experience attached helps a lot too.
And there's like the idea of like repetition too. Like it definitely
Mhm.
like even the like the you are
Right.
my freedom. Right. Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I'm reminded of like Phil Wickham's "This Is Amazing Grace," where like during the bridge, it's like "Worthy is the Lamb who was slain," and then it like repeats it multiple times.
Mhm.
And like that whole line of like, oh, I remember a worship leader at one point said like, oh, okay, just in case you didn't get it, let's say it again. And in case you didn't get it, let's say it one more time. And so like, I don't know, just this idea of like repeating that line just to like drill it in, as though like the song, I would consider it very wordy,
Right.
which I don't think that's just a big conclusion to jump to.
Right.
Like there is still that idea of repetition inside of it.
Yeah, because like yeah, I mean this is definitely longer than either of the songs you guys picked, and
Mhm.
it repeats
Mhm.
like multiple bars. Yeah, and like it's funny because I hated "This Is Amazing Grace" when I first heard it,
So good.
and now I love it. And I don't think I was thrilled about this the first time. And then they kept doing it throughout the week at camp. And I was like, oh yeah,
So he
I'm
grew on
digging
you.
this. Yeah, that tends to be a lot of music for me. I think.
I remember my critique. This is just me bashing on Young and Free. But I remember one of my critiques of Young and Free was like it was just like feel good music, like the
Mhm.
equivalent of like feel good music for Christian music. But I remember like my biggest thing was like, oh yeah, you can never like sing it in a worship setting because it just doesn't work well or blah blah blah. But then what was it? One of their songs, "Sinking Deep," like
Mhm.
hit me so hard at a couple retreats and like it was so freaking good. And then I realized, oh, it's a Young and Free song. So I was like, okay, I'm just wrong.
Yeah, and they definitely. I have one of their albums, and it's like variety. Like some of it's more calm, quote unquote, like piano, sensual, like traditional worship style, I guess. But
And like, so at one point, a couple years ago, I went to like a New England. Actually, neither of you. I went to a New England Christian concert festival.
oh yeah,
Which was an experience. Ask me about it sometimes. But like we like went to multiple tents and like I actually knew somebody who was performing there, but I didn't know they were performing, and so like I ran into them. It was cool to see them. But we witnessed like, I don't think they're heavy metal, but it was like a metal worship team. And I was like, this is very interesting. And like we were there with the metalhead, so they were like, he was like loving it. And I was like, this is like clearly not my, like, I'm not really into metal music. So like it was weird. But like there's this whole, like, I don't want to say demographic, but there's like a demographic of people who really enjoy that and like connect through that. So like I was just like, wow, this is great. This exists. Not my forte, but it's very interesting because I really like this song, but like some people might be like, oh, I'm happy this exists. Not my forte.
Right.
So it's just a very interesting like idea of like these weird genres of music that we don't really think that fit well into like the Christian music genre, like are also there.
Yeah, I think that's probably, if I really was honest with myself, I think that's part of the appeal for me too. Is like just it's almost like a reaction to the common style kind of thing. Maybe not even a reaction to, but just like an alternative to it. It's funny too, because like I first heard about Hillsong Young and Free from You when you were trying to play Real Love on that pad thing.
Yes. What a time.
And I was just like, what is this? I think that was the first time I realized that like the genre existed. It's funny too, because like, maybe not funny, but like they market themselves as like Hillsong Young and Free. And like I think that like necessarily draws criticism from some people, because like anytime you're marketing anything to a certain group of people, like you can get stuck in that box too. So I don't know. I think it's like if you're not careful, you can just sound like, oh, I'm trying way too hard to appeal to teenagers kind of thing, which is the problem with a lot of youth ministry, which is what we talked about in another episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of like sensationalism, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think, as you were saying, there's a level of like high emotion wrapped into a lot of these songs. Like, I mean, I can think of Real Love as another example where like, oh, that's a youth camp song, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is another example. And I'm trying to think of another one, but it's just like youth camp songs. Like you wouldn't do them in like a real worship set,
right?
But like, oh, in a youth camp, like yeah, that's great. Let's get them
it's like
hype.
it's the tone, it's the hype.
Yeah. And so like I think there is a degree of, I don't know, like sensationalism sounds really negative, but like I think it's true. There's like a lot wrapped in with these songs. Like even this song, I was like, oh yeah, right. As soon as I played it, I like remembered exactly what it was. Which I don't think inherently is bad, but I think that is a tool that they do use to market to youth.
But I think it's like just knowing who your audience is. Like if you're doing it in a contemporary worship setting or like corporate worship, it's like, oh, like it's not just teenagers who are in the crowd. There's like people who might be like on the older side, and like maybe that's not. I don't know. Maybe this is a very safe answer, but I think it's also like being wary and respectful of like who you are worshiping with, right? Like the worship set of like a youth group. A youth retreat will look very different from like a married couple retreat,
right?
Unless they're trying to go for something funky and we're just like, oh, we're gonna get hype here. It's like, oh yeah, like anything could happen. But I do think there is a degree of wariness and caution that people who create worship sets should have. Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason I like the idea behind a song like this. Is like it forces you to like think about out of the box, to use a cliche, where it's like, oh yeah, we could probably do this in a different setting. So like, what other venues for worship are there? Like like we could stick to the traditional quote unquote setting, or like maybe we could try this like in a camp in a room with a bunch of like hundreds of people and like loud energetic music, you know. And like then you got like a metal band where I don't know, maybe you have like a Christian mosh pit. Is that like an oxymoron?
I've definitely been part of those.
Really?
Yeah.
It's an oxymoron.
It's not. I mean, it's not like people punching each other, but it's people jumping up and down and trying to be respectful.
That I can dig. That sounds like a ska concert.
I wouldn't know, but yeah. I've seen. Yeah, like they're like, come to the front, everybody, jump up and down, and like I've been in like arm to arm, so like a shoulder. I remember this one time. I was like. Shoulder to shoulder, like people are putting their arms around each other, just like screaming and jumping and like, yeah. And then there's one guy's like, get your hands off me. And I was like, oh, that just ruined the mood. Because it was a stranger touching this one guy. And I was just like, oh, I get it. Like, he doesn't like getting touched by random people when he's trying to worship God. If it's his bros, yeah, he's cool. But if it's just like some random guy's like, oh, come on. He's like, get your hands off me.
I relate with said man.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't touch me, man.
That same guy, I was like looking on someone's stats on Facebook. I was like, oh, you know this person? They're like, yeah, I know this person. I was like, what? What a life. It was a good time.
But I mean, I do think a beauty in it is this idea of like different communities being reached different ways. Yeah, because I do think, I mean, music, as all of us will relate, is like a very powerful tool for worship, but also like to reach people emotionally and spiritually. Which I mean, there's a reason why it's been around forever, and we're so tied with it. But I think like having these alternative Christian genres, for say, um, is a way to produce good music that you enjoy, that someone else will, who might not like contemporary worship music, would also enjoy.
And it kind of like makes you question if there's a right way of doing it or like a wrong way or maybe both. It's usually both.
I think, yeah. You're always going to get haters no matter where you go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
But if we were in like the Middle East, like a lot of places over there don't even use like the 12 tone system that we use to construct any of the genres that we argue about, you know?
Hmm.
So like, at what point does it become ridiculous? I don't know. Probably when you start making comparisons like that.
Yeah, I was very confused.
All of that to say, I like Hillsong Young and Free, even though I'm 29. I'm still young and free, and I like this song. But yeah, this has been episode 40 of Three Losers in a Church.